Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's a pretty chilly December day. It's fairly sunny today, but it's still really chilly. Finally got a chance. I took the day off, decided I'm going to go look at some mines. I wanted to be out the door about 8, 9 o'clock this morning. I didn't make it out till probably closer to 11. And then broke the ramp trying to load the UTV up. It was just one of those mornings. But when I was unloading the UTV, I happened to run into the owner of the Virtue mine. He gave me permission to come up and look around just a little bit. We'll get together with him later and do a full video on this mine, but I just wanted to give you a quick little rundown on this mine. Now, this is private property, so don't come up here snooping around. It's currently leased out to some guys that are doing some exploratory work. They come up here quite often, so just mind your P's and Q's when you come up here. Anyway, what was I saying? So this mine, for its size, there's probably, now I'm going completely by memory here because I was not prepared to cover this mine today, has about 8,000 to 10,000 feet of workings in it, underground. Now, if memory serves me right, they took out about $10 million worth of gold during their mining operation. In comparison, the Cornucopia mine, which is kind of north of here, they mined 36 miles they had 36 miles of underground workings at that mine. They took out approximately $20 million. So as you can tell, this mine, they didn't have to do nearly the amount of development work on it, and they took out a considerable amount of gold for the amount of workings they had, especially if you compare it to the mine like the Cornucopia. The Cornucopia, they mainly worked 2 veins on that mine, and while it was consistent, it wasn't a real rich mine. This mine, on the other hand, was fairly rich in locations. They took out quite a bit of gold out of here. So now this big tank you see behind me, that's covering up an 800-foot vertical shaft. They got down there to about that 800-foot level and hit a fault line and hit, if I remember right, it was fairly warm water, but lots of it. And it really hampered their mining efforts. They struggled for quite a while keeping that mine pumped out. And in later years, like 20 years ago, it's about 20, maybe 30 years ago, some guys were going to come in and pump that out and see what they could get down in there and work, evidently. They put a huge pump inside that big tank with about an 8-inch, 10-inch pipe going down. And the story I was told, they were pumping 12 to 1,500 gallons a minute. And over a month period, they lowered the water level like 6 feet in that mine. The water level down in there, if I remember right, it's about 50 feet. And once it reaches that height, the rock's pretty fractured up here close to the surface, so it kind of dissipates out. But if it come up to the surface, there would be a lot of water coming up out of this mine. So, like I said, they tried pumping it here about 20, 30 years ago. Weren't real successful in getting that water level lowered. But at least that's the story I was told. Now, beside it there is a portal that goes into the tunnel, the main haulage tunnel, and there's about 4 or 5 veins that they actively work back here in this hillside. And I have been in this mine before, and hopefully in the future we'll get permission from the mine owner and maybe take an underground tour of this mine. It's a very interesting old mine. There's actually a shaft back in there not too far. They have evidently an earlier shaft, and they had a hoist set up back in there, and you can still see the smoke. It was a boiler arrangement back there to run it. It was all underground. Pretty interesting setup. That inner shaft is collapsed in, but I think later they dug this vertical shaft out here. Here's a picture of this mine. It shows this vertical shaft, the house over the shaft. The landowner actually gave me the mine owner gave me this picture when I met him out here today. Really interesting old pictures. One of these days we'll get permission, we'll come back and do a lot better video on this mine. I just wanted to stop today and take a quick look around. Also, I'm going to swing the camera around behind and show you the view these old miners had when they were sitting here working at this mine. It's a pretty spectacular view. And this is one of the older hard rock mines in Baker County. So after we look at this view, we're going to hop back in the UTV and go find some other old mines. Some of them I'm going to go off a complete memory where they're at. I may get completely lost trying to find them, but we'll see what we can come up with today. Just wanted to show you this real quick. This is out here in the Virtue District, one of the old mines. The portal itself is closed up, but up on the hillside above it, a very good demonstration of an open stope here. You can see a little bit of the vein material that they were digging left right there, and obviously this was good enough. You can see the old timbering that they came up right close to the surface. If not, they may have just come out completely through the surface, I'm not sure. And it drops down in there a ways. We may go up to the upper side and get a better look at this, but obviously the ground here is just completely covered in quartz. So that's what they were after. They were digging that quartz vein up. We'll go see if we can get a top view down of that open stope. Looks like it's pretty well pinched off down there. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty well collapsed. Doesn't look like you can get into the main haulage tunnel even if you got down in there. I do. Right down there I see a little opening, but there's no way you could fit through that one. So we're not getting down in there. Let's go explore some of these other workings right above me here. Well, whatever was here is collapsed in. Looks like maybe a short shaft dug right down in on top of that vein. Looks like maybe a little bit more right above me. Not much of a waste rock pile. But looks like a bird got ate here fairly recently. I would almost bet that goes down and connects into some lower workings. Right back there, you can see the vein material. It's much more narrow up here than down below. That open stope we looked at, it's just over there a ways. I came over here and here's another vein that was evidently exposed that they decided to prospect. When I first walked up, I thought it was another open stope, but no, I think they dug this one from the top. Well, as I was walking back down to the UTV, I was staring over here at this rock right here with all these little quartz stringers through it. Just happened to glance down. Here's a little opening. At first I thought it was just kind of a badger hole, but nope, this connects down into some workings down below somewhere. You put your hand in here. It's only about 25 degrees out here today. Nice 55, 60 degree air blowing up out of there. So that definitely connects down into some other workings. You can see the little quartz stringers here. So evidently they stoped up fairly close down below, maybe even up to that point, or it's collapsed in. So anyway, let's go see what else we can find. I wandered just a little bit. It looks like more open stopes down below me here. Let's go investigate this a little bit. So yeah, this is definitely a bunch of collapsed stoping down through here. A little waste rock pile here. I'm not exactly sure what it's from, but I see below there's more stoping that's collapsed from some workings down below us. Well, I got to figure out how to get over there so we can get a better look. All these veins go down at an angle sloping to the north, so I need to get over on the south side so we can see if that connects into anything. Made it over to the other side. You can see back in there some of the stalls they had in place. Yeah, they stoped this out nearly to the surface, and then what was left is collapsed in. I was on my way back to the UTV to go explore another mine. I noticed a spot over here. It looks like it might be a more fresh collapse or something. Well, this was a shaft. Interesting. This is the other vein, the first one I stumbled across, just further down the hill. Looks like they sunk a shaft down on it. I'm not really sure why they sunk the shaft. And they could just as easily go down the hill and tunnel in, but this might have been a different claim, and so this claim owner decided to sink a shaft on his claim. I'm looking down there. Some of those nails don't look all that terribly old. I mean, they're old, but they're definitely not square nails. And that ladder, even if that shaft was open, I would not be climbing down that ladder. You see how those rungs are put on? They're just nailed onto some 2x4s, not notched in or have the little stalls in between them. Yeah, those are ladders you want to stay off of. Interesting looking material though. I don't know if I just walked past it or what. This thing down here caught my eye, but it looks like there's another little opening right up here. Oofta. Walked right over the top of that and didn't see it going down. From my vantage point, I really can't see what's down there. You guys can see more than me right now. Well, that tumbled for quite a ways down there. So, yeah, those guys, you can see those stalls in there. They definitely brought this out right to the surface on this one. You know, from the size of the waste rock pile here, I would bet this goes in maybe 300 feet or so. It's one of these little mines that probably the name is lost to history. Probably do enough research and figure out the name of it. Go up here and take a quick peek, see if it's still open. I don't think I've ever been to this particular one. You really have to be careful with these. Could definitely be a nice little cougar hideout, but I don't see any tracks going in. Nope, looks like it's closed up. One of these ones that wouldn't take a whole lot to dig it out, but it's not my goal today. So I've been looking for one mine in particular that I stumbled across quite a number of years ago, and I can't remember exactly where it's at. Not sure this is it. This doesn't... I think this might have been it, but I'm not 100% sure. It's very hidden in the bottom of a little draw and hard to see. But it wasn't collapsed in like this. What's happened is the set in front collapsed and these boards have kicked up. I don't think there's any easy way to get in here. I'm not even sure this is the right mine, honestly. Though the dirt, the rock, looks very similar to what I remember. Let's see what I can do here. See if any of these are loose enough I can knock them out of the way. Well, this camera's just hating me today. Look right through there. It almost looks like there's a little bit of a winze. I don't think this goes back very far. This is not the one I was thinking. This is completely different. Let me see if I can get another board out of the way. Okay, I had to switch to my phone. My Canon M50 is just giving me fits today. As you can see, I knocked a couple, 3 boards out of the way and got in here. And this, you know, isn't that old of a diggings, I don't think. It may have been old to begin with, but the more recent folks that have been in here, this is a lot newer. And it's a pretty low budget operation. You can tell by what they left behind. I thought there might be a winze in here. There's my M50 because it'll only stay on for about 5 seconds and then go into error mode. See a little ladder. It's not all that old. And it looks like they started a winze here. Got some wood pegs drove into the wall. Like I said, it looks like they started to drop a winze here for some reason. And it stopped. Well, maybe this does go a little further. Okay, it goes to there. Not sure exactly what they were after right there. Some of this looks like it's actually been backfilled. Down below me here, I think this went down originally and they backfilled it. Well, not much to see at this one. I'm looking for much of an ore body that they were digging. I only see it in one spot right back there. Holding a flashlight in this phone is kind of a pain. Yeah, I kind of think they dug down there originally and then backfilled it. One thing I can see that kind of resembles a vein is this right up in here. So this ground definitely has a lot of sulfide in it, a lot of iron in it. This is definitely not the mine I was trying to find, but interesting nonetheless. Let's go see if I can find that other one. We're getting short on daylight, so I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to search around for that thing. Not sure. Anybody have an idea of what that is? I sure don't. Okay, let's get out of here. So on my way out, I decided to run over and look at this mine real quick since I couldn't find the one I was really looking for. This is the Emma mine, I think. And again, this was not one that I had planned on today. I think this mine has a couple thousand feet of workings. The waste rock pile's, fairly substantial. And the mine itself is right back over there. We'll look at that in just a second. But this was mined the last time in the 1980s. And there used to be, right out in here, a big pile of ore that they just come out and just dumped here. And I don't know if somebody hauled it off and finally processed it or what, but from what I was told, it contained quite a bit of gold, but it was locked up in sulfides. It was not free milling, and so you had to process it quite a bit more. Here's a little bit of it right over here that they took out. There was a huge pile of this here, 20 years ago. I don't know where it got hauled off to, but supposedly it was very much locked up in sulfide. So the Virtue mine, which is a few miles away, most of its gold was free milling, even down to the lower levels. It started to get into sulfides, but it was still fairly free milling. This mine evidently was more locked in sulfides. So last time I was here, this was still open a little bit. It looked extremely sketchy to get into. Mind you, this has been, 15 years ago since I've actually come up and looked at this thing. We thought about exploring it at the time, but we couldn't find a good way to prop up this monster slab that was hanging over our heads. And there was airflow out of this thing, and I think we found the upper workings of this later on. Yeah, it's still a little open. It was a lot more open last time I was here. I'm not even sure that's open past that point anymore. I don't feel any airflow coming out of it now. In fact, I think what I'm sitting on was that big slab area we were worried about. Not going back in there. Let's see if we've got enough time before it gets too dark to go check out maybe the upper workings of this mine. So we're up here at the upper workings of the Emma mine. I believe that's what this is. Pretty good sized waste rock pile. It's getting fairly late in the afternoon. It's getting dark on me fairly quick. Last time I was here, this was a little open, and it looked like somebody had dug it out in the last couple of years at that time. I don't know if it's slumped back in now or not. The last time I was here, this was really musty coming out of here. And it's still the same. There is some airflow. You can see it's melted the snow off all around that opening. So evidently this still connects to something. Oh boy, you can just feel the moisture coming out of that thing. Take a quick peek. Oh, it's really warm air coming out of there. Even fogged up my lens. So yeah, really, really moist air coming out of there. You can see the little water droplets hanging off of that moss there. I don't know what it's come in contact with back there to create such moisture in the air, but it's very moist. There is pretty good airflow coming out of that. Anyway, let's go see. There's a couple other adits up here on the hillside. So just for reference, the Emma mine, that portal we were at earlier, is down the draw. We're up here. Got one with lots of moistures right there. And we're working our way up here. And I'm pretty sure neither of these were open. Yeah, completely collapsed. Well, I know it probably doesn't look like it on camera. It's starting to get pretty dark on me. Pretty nice looking quartz. I'll walk over there. I don't think I've ever looked at those tailing pile or those waste rock piles. So go take a quick gander at those. I will say, since the sun went down, the temperature's dropped about 10 degrees out here. You can see all the brush frosted up pretty good. Okay, coming up on this one that's a little higher on the hill. It looks like this was probably a shaft at one time. Close to vertical. Not much to see here. We'll go down the hill. Look at that one. These are fairly old workings, because there is no sign of a road coming up here on this hillside at all. And a porcupine up here eating the tree. Yep, was a shaft at one time. Looks like right below me there was an adit. Long since gone. It wasn't much of an adit. Maybe went back 50, 80 feet at the most. Well, there's one more waste rock pile down below me here. Here you can see the fine work of a porcupine. Lots of dog tracks. Coyote tracks, that is. This is kind of interesting. You can see this grass down here is what you would find around springs, water sources. The tailing piles right down there. This is just a pretty good indentation in the ground. I'm wondering if this isn't a spot they stoped up and it collapsed in. But I'm wondering if that thing isn't backed up with a bunch of water inside of it, with plants like that growing. Maybe the water's seeping out through this this collapse. I don't know. Yeah, there was definitely an adit here at one time. Maybe there still is. Okay, lots of critter tracks going in this one. Again, I don't know if that's showing up. On all that moss, there's lots of moisture. The air is really warm coming out of there. So maybe this somehow connects with that over there, but they run two different directions, so I am not sure if I buy that one. May just be the ground right in this area. That spot right up above us, right up there where that grass that grows in springs is sitting up there. I can't remember the name of that grass, but anyway, very interesting. Or if you needed to stay warm, that would be the spot to go, right down there. Stick your hands down there, nice and warm. Decent size waste rock pile. Not huge. Not nearly as big as that one right over there. Just looking around, see if there's any interesting pieces of quartz laying here, but I'm not seeing much. A couple right there. Okay, it's about time we get out of here. Well guys, before it gets too dark, to wrap this thing up, thought I'd do a short little ending here. This video didn't turn out anything like I expected. I was expecting to go visit about 10 mines, 10 of these little mines today. Some of them I've got history on, some I have no idea about them. This one right behind me, I don't know a whole lot about it. I can't find a lot of information on it. But the plan was to get out here and unload it about 9:30. Well, I didn't get out of the house till 11. Then I had to run to town, get fuel, because I forgot to fill the UTV up the other day. So things just didn't turn out quite as expected. Then I got out here and ran into the owner of the Virtue Mine. And I got talking to him for about an hour. Now, I could talk to him for a long time. He's got tons of history on the mines out here. Not just out here, Baker County in general. He's got a lot of info he's researched. So one of these days we'll get together with him and put together a full video on the Virtue Mine. But that about wraps it up for today. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell notifications. Smack that like button. And I guess we'll see you guys on the next video. Now, we may come out later this weekend and do a little more exploring if we've got a chance. There's some more mines I wanted to explore. And I'll probably bring at least the youngest boy with me. Okay, that's it. See you guys.